may we please invite Mr. Milind to join us on stage and share a couple of words about the summit. Please, sir. So meanwhile he joins us on stage, I take pleasure in thank you.
Very good morning. Dear friends, I am very much excited to attend this South India Television Summit 2023 organized by our friend Shankar and his team. I am very much thankful to them because I have been invited to a place where truth prevails. Why I am saying this? Because this is my banking experience. I am coming from Maharashtra, Pune. I am leading Cosmos Cooperative Bank from India. This is the oldest cooperative bank, having a legacy of 118 years. The cooperative movement started in India about more than 100 years, predominantly in the south part, where people trust in each other and the finance requires the trust. The cooperative movement is thus 100-year-old, continuously surviving and growing financial movement. I am proud to be a part of that. We are having a business setup of 35,000 crores of rupees in 7 states. I would just like to share my experience about the South India. And that will not be the experience of only my bank or the Cosmos Bank. But if you can check the record and compare and understand, that is the record of the banking industry. Wherever the money is given for the good cause, in South India, it gives a good return and also gives money back in the South India, which is not so in the rest part of the India. I am not just saying because I am here in the South India Television Summit and for the media people. But if you say what are the bad loans and which area are they coming from? They are coming from the northern or the western part, but not from the southern part, proportionately as in high numbers as they are in the north or in the west. Because here the people have got trust in themselves and in their dedication and their business activities. We bankers believe and look forward and identify such people, those whom we can bank with. You can get a confidence of the banker and banker can give you anything. That is what we are experiencing in southern part of the India. Out of our total business, our 40% business is coming from Telangana, Andhra, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. I am supporting the statements earlier made that our best business contributing best and without any hassles or without any bad loans is coming from here because we trust the people in southern part of India. But what I would like to suggest from my experience is we have got long way to go for the industrialization and here we have got a big role to play. The consumption of the various goods that are being consumed in these 4 states, we have got many opportunities to produce and consume here. Rather we are consuming but we are not producing. But this is not the right forum and with the time limitation that I have got. Otherwise I would have liked to share some of my experiences where easily things can be produced and consumed over here, the raw material is also over here. And we should have more and more industrialization which will give sustainability to this region. We have got sustainability, but far more reaching effect we should have. In the near future to come, we with Cosmos, we would like to be associated with all your media partners, industrialists and business firms from the southern part to grow for the benefit of mutuality and the sustainability. With this word, I once again wish all the best for today's South India Television Summit 2023 organized by Shankar and his team, 4th Dimension. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much. I think also looking forward for a great association with. I think this event is not possible and they are one of the greatest pillars for us. And thank you 4th Dimension for getting these sponsors included. So our platinum sponsors, Brand Active Audio Visual Commerce, event consualized by 4th Dimension, gold sponsor Z Tamil, special partner The Hindu, Tamil Print and Digital. Exceed Entertainment, one native associate partners, our Republic, Puthiyathalaimurai, V6 News, our outdoor partner Adin, our media partner Media News, 4u.com, our industry partner NBF and our event partner Benchmark Events. We take pride in thanking you at this moment. So ladies and gentlemen, with no delays, let's move to the first leadership panel discussion. So happening at Namma Madurai, Tunganagaram, Marriott. Okay, so we take pride in introducing our moderator, Mr. Mohit Joshi, CEO, Havas Media, a passionate individual who believes in trinity of effort, luck and time. Welcome, sir. I take pride in introducing the panelists for the discussion. So this gentleman is a speaker, a mentor, an entrepreneur, an angel investor. He believes in retaining his customers' trust and relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Sukumar Nakarajan, Executive Director, Anil Foods. Our next panelist is a first-class MBA graduate with more than 3 decades of versatile experience in FMCG, telecom, sales marketing, business development, channel management and key accounts management. May we please invite Mr. P. Kadirvelu, Vice President, Levista, SLM Group of Companies to join us. May I take pride in inviting the next panelist, CEO of Gokulam Football Club, Dr. Ashok Kumar, to join us. Our final panelist, who is a part of Exceed Entertainment and a Senior Vice President in Talent Management, Mrs. Sandhya Ramachandran, to join us. Looking forward for a great discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Vanakkam, eppadi irukkinga? These were the first words that I learned when I joined Madura Codes in April or May 1994. So I started my professional career from this beautiful city, and I have a very long association with the city from that perspective. And well, I'll be honest, those were not the first words. There were some of the words that were told and given to me, which I cannot obviously share over here. But I have a very, very strong affiliation and very strong memories with this city, and I'm very, very happy. And thanks Shankar and team for having me here. In fact, last time also, just before COVID, we had a session and I was a part of that. Same hotel, same day, is it? Okay, wow, great. So I have an August panel here, and the introduction has already been done, but I'll still take a minute and introduce the panel to all of you once again. So Mr. Sukumaran and Natarajan, he's the Executive Director of Anil Foods, and obviously a very, very important person. Mr. P. Kathirvelu, who's the Vice President, Levista SLN Group of Companies, and we'll talk about coffee over the panel. Dr. Ashok Kumar, who's come all the way from Goa, I believe. He's the CEO of Gokulam Football Club, and Ms. Sandhya Ramachandran, who's the Senior Vice President, Talent Management Entertainment. So a very senior panel, leadership panel here, and we'll keep it open. I'll share some of my thoughts, and then I request them for their thoughts as well. We have, I think I've been told we have enough time, so we can spend a lot of time, and then we'll have some time for the questions as well. So I'll start with Mr. Sukumaran. You know, I was going through your site, and it says there are a lot of focus on healthy Indian food choices, right? And as we all know, that health has become a very important domain for everybody, especially after the COVID. So I wanted to know from you, since you are in that domain, what are some of the key health trends that you see evolving?
Good morning to everyone. Anil Foods as a brand more focusing on healthy foods, because everyone knows we are the pioneers in the millet vermicelli category, and we are the market leaders in the millet vermicelli category. After Corona, everyone has started thinking about health. But we are the one who started before that. We started our journey 1 decade back. We started Ragi vermicelli, which is an important segment in the breakfast category. And it was 10 years as a market leader in this category. And now we are into more millet category. And this Corona has shown that health is more important than wealth. So, right now, everyone is planning to invest in wealth. Then, investing in wealth, then how in the category of food products? That is very essential. So, millets is not a commodity which is known now. It was our staple food long back. We have forgotten it, and which is the healthiest way of food available for South Indian people. So now the millets category is picking up, and market after 5 or 6 years, millet will be the main food category which will boost the health aspects of every human being. Thank you.
Great. That's very interesting, and as you said, millets is the way forward, and health is the way forward. Yes, wealth will remain important, but health has obviously overtaken wealth. Thank you for your great points. Mr. Kathirvelu, I'll come to you, and coffee is how we all start our day with. Unfortunately, I'm a tea drinker, so but whenever I come to this part of the country, I always prefer coffee, because I know I'll not get best tea. And so my question to you is, you know, a category like coffee, which is a mass brand today, and where there's a huge amount of competition that's happening, and you've been a veteran in this field, how do you advise your team to stay ahead of the rest? Because there's always a pressure to be number one, number two, and that pressure will always continue. And you know, how do they manage this pressure, and how do you motivate them in this journey of you know, becoming the number one or the leadership?
Good morning, everyone. It's a very interesting question which you asked. Yes, coffee market is a very mass market, especially as you said, you are a tea drinker from maybe from north. South is known for coffee, especially 3 states except Kerala. Kerala is a tea market. Predominantly, almost 70% of the coffee consumption happen only in south. Now, north, east, west also started picking up because south is known for filter coffee. The preparation of filter coffee is cumbersome. It is not that easy. But the instant coffee category, which we place near to the taste of filter coffee, we are offering in the form of instant soluble coffee, which is picking up. That trend is picking up in north because it's easy to make. Just boil water, add milk, and coffee powder, and require sugar. You can make your own coffee. Coming back to the question you asked, how you keep your team ahead of competition. To manage this, we follow, basically most of the FMCG company follow this basic marketing piece, 4 P's, product placement, pricing, and promotion. But for our company, we focus, I advise and guide my team based on 3 principles when we started this project. First is innovation. Innovation in everything. It's not only in the product, it is in the service also. The second is customer experience. That is very, very important and vital in any product. The third is product differentiation or brand differentiation. First on innovation. As you rightly said, this market is a crowded market and dominated by 2 major leaders. Those are more than 100 years. One is Levers, Brew. Another one is Nescafe and Sunrise. Almost nearly 90% of the market share held by them. Then a lot of regional players. In South, you can see Qyou. That was the known brands. Apart from that, there are regional brands also there, small packets, and homegrown brands also is there. Tata also very strong in tea, but the coffee market, they are not present, though they are a long-time player. When we started this journey, 2016, this idea has come because SLM group of companies, we are into coffee plantations, exports. Almost 60 years legacy we have behind this brand. As far as Levista is concerned, it's just a 5-year-old brand. When we started this project in 2016, there are a lot of ideas flown in boardroom, and the managing partners were slightly skeptical about getting into this crowded field. It's a highly competitive field, and everybody was worried, can we compete with Levers and Nestle? Okay, let us start as a regional brand. That was the first idea. But I was strongly believing, because our company, it's not only in plantation, exports, we are into contract manufacturing. We are supplying to all major brands, including Brew. We have the contract manufacturing, 40 brands, white labeling, private labeling we are doing, but we don't have our own brands. Then I said, we know so much of permutation, combination, and blend of coffee we are doing for so many people. In-house, we know coffee better. Why don't we make the best of the coffee compared to the competition? So we bet on our quality and the taste of the coffee. That was the key. The second thing I said, customer experience. Customer experience, it is very, very important because already people got used to the loyal brands like Brew and Sunrise, Nescafe. How to make them to switch from their regular coffee to a new coffee which is unknown to the market at that point of time. When customer buys a coffee, he is not just buying a beverage, he is buying an experience where we targeted. Even our first advertisement campaign also started with, you try it, you love it. Then the second campaign was, yes, I tried, I changed. The third campaign was, I changed, what about you? This kind of a campaign we did. And behind this, not only the advertisement promo has taken our brand to this level. Today, we are the 3rd largest brand in South India, especially in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Before launching itself,
we did blind test. Almost 50,000 cups we did in all core coffee market, even Kumbakonam, Tanjavur kind of a thing, in Chennai, Mylapore. These are all coffee dominant pockets. We did blind testing along with Sunrise, Levista. We put ABC and we took the customer preference. Comes to brand differentiation, we took that what is there available in the market. If you see in the instant coffee segment, it is 70-30 is the predominantly sold coffee. Higher the coffee, higher the taste, but price also goes up. Pure coffee is also there. We have in the segment of pure coffee, premium coffee and strong coffee. The 70-30 blend was predominantly given by Sunrise and Brew. Brew is 60-40. So we want to make one new area. We want to create our own shelf for us. We introduced the premium coffee in a combination of 80-20. 80% of coffee, 20% of chicory. That was a super hit. That was super hit. That was a flagship brand for us. So that is the story we started. Today we are going to touch 100 crores by this financial year, and the fastest growing brand in South India. So rest is only the customers of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. They supported us. We believed in our quality. Customers also welcomed it. So that is the brand differentiation we made. Not only in the taste, also in the packaging also. If you remember the olden days, the Maltova, Bonvita, everything comes in tin. Nowadays, you can see only in PET bottles. We come in tin. La Vista coffee is available in tin and refill packs and jars. So
that's a fabulous story.
Thank you.
You reminded me of the days when I used to plan media for Nestle and for Brew and Sunrise. Sorry, or on Sunrise and Nescafe and this coffee versus chicory kind of discussion used to happen. Great learnings there, and I'll come back to you in a while. Now moving from coffee to football, and an interesting area. This is a country of cricket, so football obviously is something that we all look forward to, have started looking forward to. So, Mr. Ashok Kumar, my question to you is, what is your take, live sports and television? Do you still rely on television to promote, support football enthusiasts, to drive the football viewership of a live event? And what has been your experience in a country which is largely cricket dominated, and where football for a very long time used to be treated as a second grade kind of a sport? Not anymore, I should say, but say about a decade back or 15 years back, football was very small. So your learnings, and how do you see that evolving?
Vanakkam. First of all, I thank Fourth Dimension and Shankaran team. ஒரு கூடல் நகரில் ஒரு கூடலை அமைத்ததற்கு மிக்க நன்றி. Live sports and television. Television expands the reach. There are more number of viewers, and the following is much more through television. And also, there is in case if I am going to miss a match live, you always have this recorded facility, or if I'm going to miss an event that had happened during the match, you have a replay. So all these things contributes to television. In the Chinnathirai, a wonderful thing that had happened to mankind, I would say, especially to sports and especially to football. I would strongly say, as he said, cricket is a religion in India, no doubt about it. But at the same time, we all know that football is a religion across many countries. We are talking about cricket, where the ICC has got only 12 members, whereas FIFA, the world body of football, has got 211 members. Please understand this. But at the same time, we are number one in cricket, but we are 103 in football. This is the gap which we need to actually close the gap. He said, how do you make the footfalls? See, that's a different strategy altogether. But when the television comes on, especially the media and the television when it comes on, you know, the visibility of the brand football, it's projected wide. When the visibility of the sports football is projected wide, naturally the sponsors, they come behind. Ours is a very, our club is hardly 5 years old club. And we have dominated the football scene in the last 2 years, which even clubs which are 100 years old, clubs which have been dominated at Calcutta, was not able to achieve. And proudly, I have to say that in the year 21-22 season and 19-20 season, we were the champions. And our club went on to do that successfully, and we defended the title, which no other club in India has done this. And thank you. And we have done wonderfully well with women's football also. We are the champions in women's football. We are the defending champions in women's football also. In this television, I tell you, 3 years back, when we formed the women's football, I used to go scout for talent in the schools as well as in the colleges and in the universities. But after scouting the talent, when I approached the parents were very skeptical. Football, it's not a girl's game. But you wouldn't believe, IWL was telecast live, and KWL, Kerala Women's League, went live stream, and this has really made a drastic change in the women's football scenario. You wouldn't believe when I say that I'm going to conduct trials for my under 15 team, under 18 team, or the senior team. I see parents queuing with their girls and coming with hundreds and asking me to include their kids in my team. That's the transition. I owe the transition to the television, no doubt about it. And also thanks to all those apps which are there in your mobile. These really helps in expanding the scenario, especially with regard to football. I tell you, it will be very hard for us to imagine India in World Cup, whereas in cricket, we had always been a part and we had been the champions. But it will be very hard to imagine the men team to take part in World Cup. It's a dream. It's a dream which might come true, but not. I'm 65 now, and I don't think I'll be able to see that. But at the same time, I assure you that the women's football team, which is now 63 in world ranking, will definitely make a lot of strides. With FIFA planning to have 32 teams in the World Cup, it is much easier for the women's team to be there. And I hope definitely women's football team will be there in the World Cup in near future.
That's a great thought, and we all hope that football gets the same level of credit and importance as cricket does. And on the women football front, it's a great way to transition to ma'am. I think you are in an industry, media and entertainment, and being a woman, I'm sure it would have been very different, and there would be a lot of challenges that you would have faced. And one thing I wanted to say, I'm happy that we have a panel where there is one lady. I would have wanted more because in our organization, our global leadership says that 50% should be the diversity. And we are fighting to get that in place. Currently it's about 30%, and we've been given a mandate that it should be 50% by end of 2023, and which is absolutely a mandate. So it's a very welcome change, I would say, that we have you. Hopefully next year we'll have more women leaders in the state. So on that front, ma'am, I wanted to ask you, what are the challenges that you face in your industry as you have grown through the ranks, the glass ceiling as they call? I'm sure you've already broken the glass ceiling, but some learnings that you would want to share with us.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. And at the onset, thanks for Dimension, Shankar, for having me here, and all the warmth that I've seen since morning. Hello to my lovely co-panelists who are way more qualified than I'll ever be in this life. Some of your stories are so fantastic and inspiring. I've not been on too many panels, but this question, how does it feel to be a successful woman in a man's world, is something that gets asked. So when I go to do sessions with students, I'm asked this question. When I was younger, I used to get offended. What's the big deal? I'm capable, I'm doing the same job as my male colleague. Why do you have to ask me this question? I am drawing your attention to our audience who is seated here. I think we're about 100 plus people right now, including the table where you have our presenters and all that. We are just about 18 women today in this room, which is less than 20% of the total attendees. So my message today, probably barring, I'm just looking at the faces now, I think most of them, please correct me if I'm wrong, especially the girls in the audience, are between the age category of 20 and 30. Am I right? Is there anyone over 30? So, that's why I said you and I probably are the only ones over the other side. So, it's not been difficult for me. But that is probably also because, okay, again, one more question. Everyone here is from Tamil Nadu, other than the guests, I mean? Or is there anyone from Karnataka or Kerala or Kannada Matatira? Very good. Namaskara. So, I grew up in Kerala. I'm a Kannadiga. My father is born and brought up in Kumbakonam. So, I have the unique mix of 3 South Indian states. Tamilliyu pesuve, Kannadadal matarthine, Malayalam ariyam. So I speak all the languages and I love Andhra food. So I think I'm fully South Indian. Now I have to say Andhra and Telangana. But I love Andhra and Telangana food. So I'm fully South Indian. I'm the package. Growing up in Kerala, it's a matriarchal society. So even though I was not a Malayali, I didn't have to fight. If boys misbehaved, we used to slap them then and there. We didn't have to do much. But yes, because Amma's family was in Mysore, Appa's family was in Kumbakonam, I was witness to how my cousins grew up. Karnataka is a lot better, but yes, in Tamil Nadu, the difference between boy and girl is there. Nee ponnu, mariyandya ukkanduko, kaal ipdiya vekkiradu, comb your hair properly, sayangalam aachu, right? I'm sure all the girls here relate to what I'm saying. I didn't have that upbringing, so I'm privileged. I grew up with parents who are very sorted, I think. Though my father is a Madhva Brahmin, sir, he worked for a German company, so he was well traveled. He had a great amount of exposure. My mother was a teacher, primary school. I mean, she's retired now. But their upbringing was very different. So I didn't have those constraints. The second thing which I will come to in my work profession, see again in television, GEC television is bigger than anything else. Who is the star of GEC television? Women. I cannot expect a man to write a scene which is Apdiya, na vida mate. Man cannot write. It has to be a woman. If you look at any GEC channel today, it is largely women who are part of the creative team. So in our industry, in the media and entertainment industry, which requires creativity, a certain amount of sensitivity, I think women are already there, whether it's in Bombay, whether it's in Tamil Nadu, whether it's in Karnataka. As you yourself said, your global mandate is 50% diversity. I look forward to a time when that is the mandate across all Indian companies. And starting with Levista, who is already getting there, because again, as he correctly said, Kumbakonam, I know how they are about their coffee. For them to have crossed the market there, I think they're already market leaders. Now to become the truly global brand that they have the potential to be, sir, 50% diversity, more women employees. Please, I request all the women to give a round of applause now for yourselves. Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous, ma'am, and completely agree with you. And in fact, there is enough and more studies that are available, researches that are available, saying that if the diversity is 50% plus, productivity is significantly higher. So I asked my global boss that what do I do if I have to do 50, then you say 60, then you say 70. He said, find a job for yourself then. But coming to the main point, I think women have been significantly underrepresented for years and years and years, and I think now is the time when we have to consciously take that call. And my humble submission to all you leaders over here, because you are leading organizations and all the leaders there who are leading organizations, to do that, because we've been told now whenever I get a CV, and if it's a CV of a male, I say, give me another CV. I don't want to take a decision on that CV. Let me have another CV. Let me have one more CV. Then you take a call. And honestly, in the last 2 years, we've been able to increase it from just about 18% to close to about 30%, and the mandate is to go to 50%. So if you make a little effort, it's always possible, and the productivity, the business, everything has gone up. So to that extent, even at the leadership levels, we have close to about 80% women, and we are Havas is a part of the UN unstereotype, because that's a very, very important thing that's moving in the world today. So thanks for your pointers. I think more power to you and everybody who's in your shoes and who's there in the industry. Now, having taken the first perspective from all of them, I will come back to you, Mr. Kumar, and I'll request you to share with me, a success case from your life. It could be from your professional life or from your personal life that you really want to share, that made you learn a lot, and that you would want everybody to know. Anything where you were in difficult times and then you created a miracle out of it, or any success case that you feel is worth sharing with the larger team over here. And I'll ask the same question to all of you, so you can please.
First, I would like to go back to the previous point, because women, our company, we are 1,500 employees and 90% employees are women employees. And as a food industry, food company, we commit ourselves for women employment, and we proudly say that Anil Foods will always remain, and we focus on 95% now from. So the hard periods, okay, Our organization, Anil Foods, was started by my father, 1984, and myself and my brother, we came to business 2000. So we are very unprofessional organization during those period, okay. And when I came to this business, my first agenda was to make it a professional business, and taking over from a first generation entrepreneur by a second generation entrepreneur is that not easy, because the first generation entrepreneur will not give the lead to you without proving yourself. So you need to prove it to them that you are capable of running this business. So that too came when I started, and lot of things I have told to my father. We can do this, we can do that, we can do this, but none of them was executed. I was questioning myself. I'm saying a lot of things, but my father is not at all listening to that, because the first generation entrepreneurs have a very passionate people, and they know what they need to do. So then I thought, I one day I said to my father, it's a hard time that we need to create a sales team for us, because we don't have a sales team earlier. So I told my father, yeah, good idea. So we started. Then that is the one break that I had. We started a sales team with one person, with one sales person, and within a month we increased the sales team to 10%, and our business also started growing very well. So once we started our business, then we were in need of our production manager. So we got our production manager. When the production comes, employee comes, then we had a HR manager. So now we have 10 independent departments who is taking care of our business and taking individual decisions in their own field. So the hardest part is the shift from the first generation entrepreneur was the biggest hardest part in my career. Thank you.
That's a great learning. Yes, I can completely understand and imagine how you would have fought with with that thought process and created a completely new empire for yourself. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Mr. Kathevendra, I'll come to you. So I'm sure you would have also had great learnings across your professional and personal career. Would love to hear something that you would want to share with all of us, because your learnings will inspire so many others to do that. Like this learnings will inspire. I'm sure there could be a budding entrepreneur sitting over there, or somebody watching us on television later who is fighting with his or her father, and the father is not agreeing, and he or she will take this example and move forward. So I think it's important to share learnings, because that's how we share success in the larger ecosystem. I also would like to start with women empowerment and women employment. In our plantation, more than 50%, that is in plantation we have thousands of employees. More than 600 plus women employees are there who can take care of our land, setting the training, sorting out, all those things are being done. Even in factories, packing department, completely women. In sales, we have few women employees are there. But when it comes to promoters, wherever you visit this outlet, the promoter who is promoting the coffee will be there only. Then recently we launched Coffee in the Vista, which is the experience center you can go and take the coffee. There all our staff, 30 assistants are there. Coming back to share my success story, it's a combination of personal come with some short success. Basically, I born in a middle class family, very average student, not very bright that time, because I'm the only son in the family. I never taken my education very serious, so I go to the side. When I finished my graduation, that time only straight you can go to
doctor or engineer or it can be an art student. I taken the easy path of art. When I come out of that college, 1972, I don't know what exactly started. I started my career in the field. And the thinking phase was good. Then I went to the for 2 years, then I have been absorbed into Gujarat Cooperative Milk Corporation, well known as Amul. I joined as a group head there. I did 3 years there, then I switched my company to Johnson & Johnson, which is a global leader in baby care products and sanitary products. I was there around 12 years. Then there was telecom revolution happening in India, in South India, especially in Tamil Nadu. There is a company called Aircel. It's completely given a new face to the telecom, and I am part of the core group in 2001 with them. 3 years I was with Aircel. This is the employee role, where I grown up to the level of CEO, what we call as 30 businesses, and I became the regional business head for the 9 telecom systems, and there is South, West, Tamil Nadu, other states. So starting from a sales guy, grown up to the level of the CEO of a company, maybe it will happen only in cinema. It can happen in real life also. You have a passion, dedication and determination. I always tell my sales team, so put your best efforts. Every day you have to do what you are done yesterday, today you have to do best, come back to yourself. That's the only simple mantra that you can go up in ladder. Don't think that I have gone as a CEO or I have gone as a vice president. The career ladder, only you have to take the opportunity. You have to build your career. So you put your right efforts in the right place. Because I have never switched on company between companies to grow. The same company, in Johnson & Johnson, 1989 I joined as a head field sales representative. My boss who selected me was the head of Honda. 7 years, he has become my colleague. I was handling Tamil Nadu and handling. So that is the career growth, fast growth I had. Still very big with Johnson & Johnson. There is all of this and investigation on the board. As a superstation and ideal manager, I got both the awards within 7 years. Even as I joined as a regional manager, then I grew to the level of. Coming back to the story of Levistar, where all these days I was an employee, here I taken an administrative role. Because both the brothers, the Karthappan engineer and the managing director, they said we have experience only in plantations, exports, etc. We absolutely no idea about FMCG market, especially chemical marketing. So if you can take care of 360 of this business, then you can go to this track, the project what you are supposed to do. I took the challenge, though I am not the owner of this brand, but proudly I can say I am the mentor of this brand from the scratch, from the product, name selection, branding, promotion, sales and distribution strategy, go-to-market strategy, everything is done. Today, Levistar is a well-known brand in Thank you.
Great. I mean, you know how you traversed the corporate career and now you are in an engineer, you know. That's it. Mr. Ashok Kumar, I'll come to you. You know, football I'm sure would have given you a lot of learnings, right? And please share some of them with us.
Very recently, India played against Nepal at Chennai. Out of 11 players, 6 players are from Kerala. So, to that extent, within these 4 years, we have grown and we have given a lot of impetus to the growth of women's football. If Kerala government had seen this and they called us and they said, you need to have an academy with you. You be the technical partner and we will be the funding partner for the next 5 years, and we have sanctioned 2.5 crores towards an academy that is consisting of under 14, 17 and under 20. So this is the story which we got to go best thing in Gokulam is we have not gone for stars to make them stars. We have found people who are talented. We were successful in unearthing the diamonds which were hidden so far within the state. That's the success story. I'll give you, for example, not only within the state, across India. For example, we found a girl who is at the school level. She has not represented the school or the district or the state. But we found out that she should be a good goalkeeper in future, and we signed her at the age of 15. Her name is Anita, and this Anita, just 1 year with our club, she went on to be selected in the India Under-17 for the World Cup. Unfortunately, she had a ACL ligament injury, but she couldn't take part. But that's the story. And another small girl who was just 15 years at the school, Shilji, and you would have read very recently Under-17 India played against Jordan, and you know how many goals this girl scored against Jordan. Not one, not two. She scored 4 goals against Jordan. That's great. This is how we are into women's football, especially in the grassroots as well as the youth development. We are concentrating more on women's football. And coming to the success story, it's a mixture of personal as well as some of the organizational success I would like to share with you. Like any other kid in the suburbs, I took up cricket. Cricket, everywhere is cricket. So I'm very proud to be here because 65 years back I was born in Madurai at a hospital called Eskin Hospital, now known as Rajaji Hospital. Here again I would love to bring the women's part in my life, and the most adored woman in my life, my mother. June 1958, June 25th, doctors examined her, a full-term pregnant lady, and they declared that the fetus is dead, and they are trying to save her mother. And she was taken to this operation theatre. On the way, you can also record it's Dr. Rebello, the men's part coming here, who said, okay, the fetus is dead, at least we are trying to save it, we have to cut and then open and cut the fetus and take the fetus out, and we have to save it. Now, the stretcher is being taken towards the operation theatre. No, it's not cinema, it's not. My mother realized that I could see the moment inside. The mother realized. That's how I was born through a cesarean section on June 26, 1958. Okay? So that's how. And my childhood was here in Madurai, OCPM school, and Tirinagar Sara English Medium School. And then my dad, being a government official, he being transferred every 1 year or 2 years to one place or the other. And unlike this generation, I've seen one thing with my father. He was a BDO at Kalipati, and he was a great follower of Gandhiji. And he will only come back and say to my mother, fact we have to lead. Fact we have to lead. It will be a big blow for all of us. But follow the leader. We have been not like I've been in bank for 22 years. When the transfer order is being typed at the personal department, you get the message and you do all sorts of things to stop it, or you try and get a place where you would be much more comfortable. This is what is happening in this generation. But in those days, we were moving back, went to Coimbatore, speak to the collector, and there I studied in Rama Garden Education School, in the 4th standard, and then from 4th standard to 8th standard, in a very historic village, I would say, Sri Perumbudur. I was there in Sri Perumbudur, the birthplace of Ramanujan. There, I started playing cricket, like any other kid from Chennai. I was a wicket-keeper batsman, and cricket was everything for me. The first match which I saw was Bill Lawry's team, which came with Ian Chappell and Greg Chappell to play for India in 1967. See, this is how I just wanted to tell all of you how this cricket in me brought me as a sportsman. And in the first year, I was in the cricket team in my college. And in the second year, suddenly one day, the physical director comes to my room and he knocks the door and says, Ashok, today you are going to be the hockey goalkeeper. How do you like that? I never touched hockey stick in my life. But I said, why me? Why don't you get a hockey team? The hockey goalkeeper was tested positive for typhoid, so he was bedridden. So we were in need of a replacement. You know what he said? Ashok, you are the one who is used to the pads. You are the one who was capable of running. As a wicket keeper, I was running pads. That made me a hockey goalkeeper. And you wouldn't believe, I told him without any training I cannot do it. But they gave me training. On the day of the match, I'm getting trained at the morning. Evening was the match, that too against the champion team, Laila College. Okay. And that match, we drew with Laila College, it was a 0-0. Here also, you know pretty well, the referees play a big role in all these games, which I have been seeing for the past 34 years. The referees always try and support a well-known and an established team than an unknown or an underdog. It's always like that. You wouldn't believe they gave a penalty stroke at the 65th minute. Hockey stayed for 70 minutes. At the 65th minute, and being a wicket keeper, I was able to stop the stroke, and I saved. And for the first time in my life, my name came in the headlines through media. You know what it said? Ashok saves veterinary. I was in the veterinary college. Ashok saves veterinary. And at the bottom it was the veterinary college holds Laila 0-0. So then in the third year, one day my football coach comes to me and said, Ashok, I've been watching you. You are stopping the ball with the pads, and that too a small ball. And then you can do it so well with a small ball and bigger pads. You can do it very well with the football. And that's how my journey in football started. Whatever I didn't achieve
was football, and I was able to achieve. He said nothing. I mean, even to him also, I said I never played football. He said, "You are a sprinter, and I want you to play as a right winger. As soon as you."
When somebody else was shooting into the goal, and somebody was heading the ball into the goal, and I never got the opportunity
I scored, that day also my name came in the paper. In cricket, you got to score 25 runs and above, or you have to take 5 catches or 5 dismissals as a wicketkeeper. Hardly 2 or 3 times my name would have come in 6 years. But in football, within a year, my name came 6 times in the paper. That's how, I got so passionate with football. And, as I joined Indian Bank as a probationary officer, not under sports quota. But during the interview, they had seen my credentials and they asked me to come and play. At that point of time, there was no football team in Indian Bank. I was a hockey goalkeeper for Indian Bank for 5 years. But during that period, in the year 1987, I formed a football club in Indian Bank, which within 5 years, it was the champion team of Tamil Nadu in 92. And in the year 1995, we were in the National League and we were number 5. We finished number 5 in the first ever National League in India.
Wow, what an inspiring story.
Thank you.
From cricket to hockey to football.
So, one thing I had seen in football is, I just wanted to finish this. I've been going too much. Everyone should have a peripheral vision. We always have a very focused vision because we are all concentrating more on focal vision. This peripheral vision really helps us in whatever organization you are. It will definitely make you grow. One small incident, I was called as a chief guest for a school football tournament. In the final, I didn't see any talent, but the stage was so big. I was watching some kids playing in the street, and I was really attracted by one kid who was really outstanding than the players who were there inside the tournament, inside the final. So when I approached the kid, they said the kid is a very poor kid and their parents are just, painters, like, Chunamba people. So I went and met them and I said, at that point of time I was the general manager of Pune Football Club. And I said to the parents, would you spare this kid for me so that I want to take this kid from Chennai to Pune at the age of 14 plus. And initially they were a bit apprehensive, but I convinced them and I took him. And within 3 years, this boy played for India under 17 within 3 years.
Wow.
His name is Dhanapal Ganesh. Not only this Ganesh went on to play for under 17 India, but he also played for India under 7 and the India senior team. He played for India senior team, the only one who represented Tamil Nadu from India from Tamil Nadu. And throughout my life, I had been a salaried class person, and when this kid signed a 3.3 crore contract with Chennai FC, on that day I felt that I achieved something in life. That was a great thing that this fellow. So that's why I'm telling, this has been my success story. So I wish that please concentrate on your peripheral vision. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Very, very inspirational. Ma'am, I'll come to you and
I'll be as brief as possible. At the onset, thank you for responding. And I want to make a commitment. Any session you all want to do with your women staff, if you want me to be a part of it, I'll be happy to be there. In terms of success stories, so I'm quickly going to tell you 2 points here. One is this company that I'm now representing, Exceed Entertainment. My employment engagement with them is fairly recent. However, I've known the promoters of the company, the organization for 2 decades now. In that sense, we are contemporaries, and there has always been a great amount of respect because they've constantly been one step ahead of the game. Talent management now, I know that it's not very popular in the south of India, but basically talent management is where you're managing talent. You're looking after the diary, you're bringing them work, you're bringing them endorsements, and that is what it is. What Exceed did in front of my eyes was go one step beyond. So they had a talent called Hrithik Roshan. Now, not only did they just manage for him, his dates, his films, his brands, they created a brand for him called HRX. That is Exceed's brainchild. And today, if I'm not mistaken, the brand is valued at about 1,000 crores. So that empire that they've created, which is going to take care of his generations, not just him or his sons, I think that is actually something I have envied. I have not envied, but I've been impressed with. So I'm happy now. I mean, as I said, it's a fairly recent official engagement with Exceed, so which I am thoroughly enjoying. In terms of personal, I think Mr. Kale was referring in his inaugural speech about how South India has this trust factor. So, growing up, two qualities that my father has imbibed in me: integrity and honesty. I work in an industry where the talent earned in crores. There is a high rate of corruption in people at my level because we have the access to that crores. It's going through us. Every day that I do not compromise on my honesty and my integrity, I consider my success. And beyond that, I consider that my father's success. When I was younger, I would call him, "Why have you brought me up like this? You know, people are going ahead of me." Because when you're younger, you don't understand the value of these things. Today, sir, I may struggle with some payment or something like that once in a while, you know, when things go wrong, COVID. But I sleep at peace at night. And that I will not compromise for anything. That's my success story.
Completely agree with you. That's a fabulous thought. So one last, I would say, a quick question. I just want you to give me a perspective on where do you see yourself and or your organization in 5 years from now. And why I'm asking this is because, everybody's saying this is the decade of India, this is the century, this century belongs to India, and we are in the right place at the right time, and all of you are entrepreneurs doing great business. So where do you see yourself and your organization 5 years from now? Just one point.
Anil Foods, we want to make this brand as a predominant brand in the breakfast category. We wanted to categorize all our products in the breakfast category, and we want to coin Anil Foods as a breakfast brand in 5 years ahead. This is our mission.
Our brand Levista, which is fighting with the two international brands, which is Unilever and Nestle. Our brand is number brand, local. But the name Levista looks like global brand kind of a thing. It looks globally, but work locally. It's a local brand. Definitely we want to take this brand to the next level. Already we are available in 7 foreign countries, which is South Asian countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Dubai. We are available in UK, and soon we will be available in US market also, because where Indian market, they are seeing our ads because completely the global market is connected with this media. So they can see everything from everywhere. Only thing, we have to reach to the next doorstep. So that is our ambition. We want to present wherever Indians are there. I want to reach this coffee to their global level. Thank you.
At the moment, my club is in I League. In the next 2 to 3 years, we would be in ISL, the Indian Super League. And in 5 years, we will be vying for Asian Club Championship honors. Thank you.
In 5 years, I hope to still be sleeping at peace at night, still with Exceed, and where the company has grown to a great level, greater than it is today. And more importantly, right here at the South Indian Television Summit, and anything else that Fourth Dimension is planning to do, because I think this forum is outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And 5 years later, I'm sure I'll be here again in this stage, with Shankar organizing one more event and interacting with great people like you. Thank you very much. I think we don't have time for questions, but everybody is available during the break, so you can ask questions. You can come to me and give the questions to me, and we can share it with them, and they can come back to you. So thanks. Thanks for sharing your success stories and the great learnings that you all do. We'll take a selfie.
Post a great discussion, I request you to please join us for a group picture.
That was the selfie now.
It's a group now. Once again, we request you to remain in stage for the next few minutes, gentlemen and ladies. So, may we please invite Mr. Jay Krishna, Secretary General, MDF, to join us on stage. And request you to felicitate Mr. P. Kadarvelu, Vice President, Levista. Dr. Ashok Kumar, CEO, Gokulam Football Club. Mrs. Sandhya Ramachandran, Senior Vice President, Talent Management. Thank you so much for the great panel discussion initiated today. I think 5 years from now, my wish is to see everybody who joined us in the stage to join us for the panel discussion in a large scale and give us insights on variety of topics. Thank you. And I am also super excited and happy to watch Mrs. Sandhya Ramachandran, a woman who is a complete package of South, now is a major pillar media industry in the North. We are excited and privileged to have you, ma'am. And also the panelists who have joined us today have proved that hard work and the decision made at the right time is the pathway to success. Thank you. We also thank you for the eloquent discussion happened today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, moving ahead to our next session. I am excited and looking forward for a great session because we are going to invite a Vedic speaker, a writer, an actor, a director, and an entrepreneur. So this gentleman is an alumnus of BITS Pilani. He is a religious speaker, Sanskrit and Tamil, and a regular speaker in 4 leading television channels. This gentleman is a contributor of articles to spiritual magazines as well. So I think we don't have a right person more than this gentleman to come and share the views on mental wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Dushyant Sridhar.
ईशादस्त्र्यान् अधिगतवतां क्षत्रियाणां प्रभावात् कारावासस्मरणचकिते सिक्तसस्यां पयोधैः पश्यन्यायात् परिमलकया स्पर्धमानैरजस्त्रं पुण्यावासैः पुरजनपदे मण्डितान् पाण्ड्यदेशान्. A good day to all of you present here. Extremely happy to be a part of the South India Television Summit 2023, organized by 4th Media Dimension. I'm extremely delighted. After being a part of their Coimbatore Summit, this verse that I cited is from the 13th century Sanskrit poem called as Hamsa Sandesham, that talks about a legend that is associated with Madurai. In the book called as Halasya Mahatmyam, there is a legend that states how Madurai and the surrounding areas managed to get rains. So the legend goes like this, that once the Pandyan king, who happened to be invited to Amravati, was not offered a seat by Indra. So when he was not offered the seat, he was frustrated, felt a lot humiliated, and so he planned to arrest the clouds. So while he arrested the clouds, Indra felt a lot power-stricken and power-broken. So he had to strike a deal with the Pandyan king. So the Pandyan king said, I am planning to release the clouds on one condition. The condition was, whichever territory in Bharata Desha gets rains or not, he said, Pandya Desham should get rains. So that was the deal. So this deal was struck by the Pandyan king with the power that he yielded. So the shloka says, Ishadastryan adhigatavatam kshatriyanam prabhavat. The kings of this land were celebrated to that extent. Karavasa smaranachakidai siktasasyam payodhaihi. So while the clouds were put into Karavasa, which is prison, Mandidan Pandya Deshan. So I have come to this beautiful city of Madurai. In fact, when Andal of Srivilliputtur, she invokes Madurai, she invokes the Madura of Uttar Pradesh as Vada Madurai. She says the term Vada, North, should be added to that. I don't have to say Ten Madurai, because if at all it is Madurai, it has to be only this city. Mayanai Manna Vada Madurai, Maindanai Tuyapperani, Yamunai Turaivanai, Ayar Kulattinil Tondrum Adipelakkai, she says in Tirupavai. So, I am very happy to be in Madurai. The topic that I have been ordained to speak for the day is mental wellness. There is a conversation that Bhuma Devi has with Varaha and Varaha Purana. Sthite manasi suswasthe sharire sadiyo naraha dhatu samye sthite smarta vishwarupam cha mamajam tatastham priyamanam tu kashtapashana sannibham aham smarami madbhaktam nayami paramam gatim. So while the conversation happens, Varaha begins the line with Sthite Manasi. Varaha has become extremely popular with Rishabh Shetty. Right? After Kantara's Rishabh Shetty's Kantara, Varaha Rupam has become extremely popular. So I have to thank Maniratnam for bringing back the memory that Kaveri is also called as Ponni, and Rishabh Shetty for having given importance to Varaha. So that way television and cinema is playing a positive role. That said, he begins his shloka, Sthite Manasi. When your mind is in proper condition, equilibrium, is when a lot of activities happen. I still remember a lot of movies. I am not sure how powerful they are today. But in some of the Tamil movies that I've seen, if a person is in a disturbed mental state, there will be so much of happiness in calling him a Qyou. You know, people will whistle and say, Qyou kaisa? And immediately there will be a galore that will be guffawing to that comment. And of course, that my speaker previously invoked a few languages. In Bangalore, the movie would say Nimans. It may bring guffaws to a lot of us, but it's such an ignorance that if we think that good health is only of the body and not of the mind. So mind plays an extremely important role in fashioning and packaging ourselves to the public. Mind is such an important component. Mental wellness is in fact much more important than the physical wellness that we talk about. Because in the last 2-3 years, you must have seen a lot of TV celebrities with 6 packs committing suicide. So if physical wellness is to define a person, we shouldn't be having suicide notes from people who have got 6 packs. I am no way undermining the importance of hitting the gym and having proper lipid profile. No, that is important, but mental wellness is extremely important. And I'm very happy to be talking that in a television summit. Television can be the cause and the solution to mental wellness. That said, a few instances that I thought I should bring from the history that we know of. You must have all heard of Parashurama. Parashurama is regarded as one of the partial incarnations of the Lord, and he is believed to have lived in the middle part of the country, Madhya Pradesh, and then came all along till Kerala, and he is said to have reclaimed the land of Kerala much before the Bandra reclamation could happen. So he is said to have been the pioneers in reclaiming the land. His father Jamadagni was killed by a tyrant king of Mahishmati. Does Mahishmati strike a chord with you all? Mahishmati is right? So Mahishmati is the erstwhile name of a little town called as Maheshwar in Madhya Pradesh, where you get the Maheshwari silk, where you have the Sen Tamil Trisha shooting for Ponniyin Selvan that happens in the Mahishmati fort, and that place is famous for the textiles called Maheshwari silk. So there was a tyrant king called as Kartavirya, and he is said to have had a tiff, a tussle with Jamadagni, and Jamadagni was killed in this riot. So the son gets to know of his father's demise, and he says, I shall avenge the death of my father. So incidentally, he is one person of his community who carries the weapon in his hand. He carried the parashu, the axe. So he got the name Parashurama. Like you have the cutting Ravi, the soda bottle shaker, you had the Parashurama. So he had the parashu with him. So this Parashurama goes on a spree to kill the person who vanquished his father. But it doesn't stop there. It becomes a bloodbath. Krodhagnim Jamadagni Pedana Bhavam Sandarpaishan Krama Akshatrahi Miha Sandadakshaimam Trisapva Kritva Kshidim. Trisapva, 21 dynasties. One says Trisapva 21 times, some say 21 dynasties. Generations of kings were killed in this bloodbath. It was one of the genocides known of those times. Now, when we look into our Puranas and history, they concur with this. But was it right? Imagine somebody is disturbing my family. I go file a case on him. I avenge whatever he has done to me is fine. I take up the entire community and start killing. Is that right? Now you may be wondering, because all this is getting recorded, there will be some great YouTuber who will have the patience on this earth to download this entire lecture of 814 MB. Watch the entire video. He will have the audacity and the prowess to watch the entire video and will just cut 10 seconds. And that will be faster than the Coronacharya. And then there will be suddenly a trend, boycott Dushyant. So, for those pure, magnanimous souls on this earth, listen to this. What Parashurama did is not the topic of discussion here. But was it condemned? Kamban, தன் கம்பராமாயணத்தில் கவி சக்கரவர்த்தி கவி சார்வபௌமன் கம்பன் வீட்டு கட்டுத்தறியும் கவிபாடும் என்பார்களே, அந்த கம்பராமாயணத்தில் தெரிவிக்கின்றார். பாலகாண்டத்தில் வரும் பாடலாம் இது. பூதலத்து அரசையெல்லாம் பொற்றுவித்தனை ஆகியும் வேகவித்தாகிய வேரோன் மைந்தன் நீ ஆதலால் நின்னை கொல்லலாகாது. says Rama to Parashurama. This is D. Ram. He tells that to J. Ram. J. Ram is Jamadagni's son Ram. So Jamadagneya. D. Ram is Dasharatha Ram. So D. Ram tells J. Ram. And incidentally, the Hindu is a special partner. And he's not going to listen, N. Ram. So D. Ram tells J. Ram, you have committed a crime that needs to be ridiculed. Because you have avenged the death of your father by killing so many people. Yet I will not do the same crime what you meted to others on you. Because I come from a very cultured and a seasoned family. So Parashurama's act of anger led to that act of killing so many people. That is when Tiruvalluvar says, know how to control your anger. Aathirakaranukku buddhi mattu. There is a saying in Tamil. When you do anything out of rage, out of sudden burst of anger, that act will not result in something good. So mental wellness today is extremely important because the level of patience in we the commoners is abysmally so low, it is in the minus. Nobody is patient. When the flight lands, the person jumps out of his seat to get out of the plane, unaware that everybody wants to get out of the plane. So they want to jump, they want to take their luggage. And go there. You're going to get outside. So the level of patience and the knowledge associated with patience is so low. Why? Because we give so much of importance to our body. Everybody wants a body, like I'm sure Sandhya spoke about Hrithik Roshan. Everybody wants to represent the Greek god. Everybody wants a body. Well, desiring the body like Hrithik Roshan is all fine. But whom are we going to desire the mental state of? Next act. See what all states we have in our history. Remember, our Puranas and history are not everything that we have to admire. We will have to know how to be and how not to be from our characters. Both are important. Just because something is traditional or old, you don't have to accept it blindly. Just because something is modern and contemporary, you don't have to reject it blindly. See the merits and demerits in both the process. Next, we have one another example. In the same state of Tamil Nadu, if you go further south, Rama wanted to take the entire army, the battalion of monkeys to Lanka. The monkeys were extremely excited. For them, this was the first foreign tour. So for them, it was like, they had informed their wives. So I'm going on an on-site project. And it's going to be to Lanka. Probably that time, Lanka didn't have to go to an IMF. It was in a better state. So the monkeys had to be taken all the way to Lanka. And these monkeys were just like me, they didn't know swimming. So a bridge had to be constructed connecting Bharatadesham and Lanka. So that is when they had to construct a bridge. And in the process of construction of bridge, I think Sukumarji will appreciate, it was just not the monkeys, even the Anil played the role. So, Thondaradi Kudiyalvar says, Salavila Anilam Pole, even the laborious, very hard-working Anil played a role. So they did service. Service is called Sevai. Incidentally, your product is also Anil Sevai. Right? So, I'll have something about the coffee as well in a few minutes from now. So, Rama had to sleep on a bed of grass because in those days, 3 days you do fasting without drinking, going to the back and drinking that juice of Musambi. If you're truly fasting till death, it was called Prayopavesham. So Rama had to do that in a place called Tirupullani in Tamil Nadu. So 3 days was the ease of business in those days, where the Eco Tribunal, which is the water ministry, had to come and say that you could construct the bridge. But it was ministry after all, so who answers so fast? So the minister of waters did not come. So Rama gets angry. So that's when you have a shlokam. Samudrasya tata krutho ramo raktanta lochanaha. His eyes became red. Kadiyavagi pudai parandu midirந்து செவ்வரியோடு நீண்டவ பெரியவாய கண்கள். The ends of his eyes showed the anger and the wrath that he had. He says, Adyavat Vananidhinnair Makarair Makaralayam. Rama says, if that person does not have the audacity to come and give me permission, I shall dry up the ocean and take the monkeys walking to Lanka. Does he do that? No. Did he get angry? Yes. What happened in between? Vijay Sethupathi answers, right? Nadavula konja pakkam kaanam. What happened in between? He was angry. But did he actually dry up the oceans? No. Because getting angry is a human trait. We are not going to sit in the caves of the Himalayas and always have a pleasing face. We have our share of anger too. But when does anger become beautiful? A person's anger becomes beautiful only when that person, he or she, knows how to control it. That gives you the proper mental state. You know, we have so many people in movies, in television, and in real life telling, "Enakku mattum kovam vandhudu adakkave mudiyadhu," then you are unfit to get angry. When you do not know how to control your anger, you are unfit to get angry. So Rama knew how to control his anger. That is why Andal of this Pandya Deshan states, "I am madly in love, head over heels with a hero." Immediately people ask, who is that hero? Sinathinal Tennilangai Komanechcha Manathu Kiniyanai Padavuni Vaithiravar. I am in love with that person who knew how to get angry beautifully. How can you get angry beautifully? Right? Manathu Kiniyan Sinathinal. Only when you know how to control that anger. So mental wellness has a lot to do with how you showcase your emotions and how you bring those emotions under control. Going that far, why should I spare Madurai? We speak about Silappadigaram. Ilangovadigal vadita Silappadigaram. Here you have a legendary character called Kannagi. In Tamil Nadu, it is a huge debate. Which side should the statue face in Marina Beach, east or west? Even before deciding which side the statue should face, Kannagi was a very simple woman married to a merchant called as Kovalan. This man, having lived a few years with his wife, falls in love with a courtesan called as Madhavi. He spends all the acquired wealth on this lady. Later to only realize that he has to go back to his wife, and the wife embraces him completely. Kannagi of those days. She embraces this man. And then to seek better fortunes and pastures, they come to Madurai. It's called Madurai Padalam in Silappadigaram. That is when Ilangovadigal tells the flag was fluttering high in the sky, just like telling Kovalan, Ulle Varade. It was fluttering that way, it seems. Ulle Varade, there's something bad waiting for you. This man gets in. He has to go pawn the anklet of his wife. In the due process, the king's men, the commanders, think that he could be one of the thieves. And they guillotine him. Even before the French Revolution could come up with a guillotine, he was guillotined. This lady, she gets to see some inauspicious signs in the Kuruchi that she was living. Kuruchi, Makkal Vasikkum Iruppidam. Kallukku idai irundal adu Kallidai Kuruchi, in between mountains. So, Kannagi goes all the way to the court of Nedunjadiya Pandiyan. And you must have heard all those dialogues. I think all those black and white pictures must be running in front of you. Needi tavariya nedunjaliya pandiyane. Needi tavariya unakku venkotra kudai edakku. And then he immediately cuts it off. And then needi tavariya unakku sengol thevaya. He throws his scepter all the way. And then finally he dies. And then the queen also dies. So it becomes a scene full of crime there. Now she doesn't stop there. What Kannagi does, she says, this king has meted injustice to me. Some of the men involved in his administration have meted injustice. Let this entire city burn. This is how we read in Silaparikara. On a very hindsight, just calmly think. If injustice is meted to one person, is it right to burn the entire city? Then every city in this world will keep burning. Right? So, all these parts of history that we read in our scriptures tell us one thing. Be with certain traits of those characters. Do not follow them completely. We all celebrate Kannagi. Yes, she is to be celebrated. But this act need not be glorified. Maduraiye yerita Kannagi. Madurai did no harm to her. The common citizens did no harm to her. So from our scriptures, we also need to decide our state of mental wellness. So what is important in that state? I often tell in some of my lectures, till I was a boy who used to be watching television channels when news used to be played only for 22 minutes between 8 and 8:25. That was the news available. So at that point in time, towards the end, the weather report will come. And that is when they will use the word depression. Depression used to be only in Bay of Bengal. But today, that word has become so infectious, right from Deepika Padukone to everybody, we stay. So what is the message that we are trying to convey? That do not ridicule mental illness. Come up with it. Because people have this thought that when there is a when you're in a disturbed state, either I should not be informing somebody because people will think I am mad. If this was the case, honestly you tell me, Arjuna was in a similar depressed state while he had to begin the Bharata war. He says, Ratham Sthavaya Achyuta. Achyuta, go and keep my chariot in the middle of the ground. Because people standing opposite me are no strangers to me. One is my great-grandfather, one is my grandfather, one is my guru. Many of them are my half-brothers, my cousins. So how can I dare fight against them? How can I even imagine killing them? That is when Krishna gives him a beautiful therapy. It's a therapy. See, there are two ways of giving therapies. One, you answer the question, or one, you give a detailed explanation to that question. In such a way that the person who is asked the question finally says, I will fight. Don't give me further explanation. Krishna did the second one. The question was, should I be fighting the people opposite me? I am depressed. Should I be doing it? Krishna could have just said, just fight them. See, first of all, you've come to the war, you shouldn't be asking this question. A surgeon cannot be coming to the surgical table and then saying, Ahimsa paramo dharmaha, I will not do the open heart surgery. Right? You've come all the way to the table. So you knew what you are in for on the war field. So you shouldn't be asking this question, should have been his answer. Rather, Krishna tells patiently what is the Jivatma, what is the Paramatma, what is the body, which has to die, which is perishable, which is permanent. And then Arjuna is convinced. So, one of the best ways for giving mental wellness across different strata in the society is through words laden with wisdom and practicality. Anything that we speak from the stage should be comprehensible, relatable and enjoyable. Then it becomes a lot applicable. So Krishna does that. Now, when will that mental wellness or state come? I'll give you an instance of Draupadi. Draupadi didn't have to undergo a lot of the ordeal that we all have to undergo. Go to the LKGs, talk about Humpty Dumpty who sat on a wall and then he fell, Jack and Jill tumbled all the way down the hill, and we'll have to by heart those lines for the betterment of our Jivatma. Right? So we are used to those rhymes which are absolutely irrelevant besides the words and the sentence formations that they have taught us. So after having undergone that shoot system, root system, photosynthesis, then U by V rule, UV rule of differential calculus, and then Schrödinger equation, 2PV is equal to RT, what do we end up doing? Talk about mental wellness of the stage. So, Draupadi didn't have to undergo a lot of that because as per Mahabharata, she came out of the fire and she didn't have to undergo any of these middle school, high school, elementary school, post-doctoral, none of these days. But her problem began on day 2 itself, because when her prospect mother-in-law said that you have to be shared, she had to end up marrying, instead of 5 men. As per rule number 52B and clause number 74F, Yudhishthira says that one woman can marry 5 men. So that is the problem statement that she had for day 1. And then she goes with her husbands to Indraprastha, which is the current day Delhi. And then she is asked to come to Hastinapura, and that is when, while she was in her periods, menstruating, Ekavastra Rajasvala, she was dragged to the court of the Gurus and she was humiliated. Imagine the mental state what Draupadi would have been in. Rightfully, if Krishna had come and given a therapy then and there, this revenge of drenching my hair in the blood of Dushasana would have not come. But Krishna takes another set of 2 months to meet Draupadi, by which all these vows are given. I will cut the thigh of Duryodhana, I will drench my hair. So this is where they go to the heights of revenge. The same Draupadi who was humiliated, who said that Dushasana had to be killed, Duryodhana had to be killed, you know, later in the Mahabharata Yuddham, Drona's son Ashwathama ends up killing all the 5 sons of Draupadi. But Draupadi says, do not kill Ashwathama. She says, he is the son of your teacher Dronacharya. You shouldn't be doing to him. You can give him some punishment, do not kill him. When she was humiliated, she said, I will drench my hair in the blood of Dushasana. When her sons are killed, she says, don't kill him. Why? Because age also teaches you how to manage emotions. The same Draupadi in a span of 13 years becomes a mature individual. So it is believed that age also teaches civility and culture in people. So mental wellness is a beautiful topic that needs to be addressed across different strata in the society. Lastly, one topic that I feel will be relevant before I give it to Shankar to hand over the question answer session. Being educated for 4 years in the state of Tamil Nadu, I studied a large part in Bangalore and Pilani. I was 4 years in Chennai. Something that's very unique to Tamil Nadu across the political and the cinema spectrum is hero worship. So the state is so much in love with hero worship, both in the political spectrum and in the cinema spectrum. I've seen many news clips. If the leader is arrested, immediately there will be some arbit person who says, I will give up my life, I will burn myself. That leader will not give up his life. But this person who has a family of 4 who are to be fed will end up his life. Why? Because our attachment, the Tamil people's attachment and love that they shower for people whom they love is excessive. When you love that person, you will shower so much of love that you start deifying that person. You do Tirumanjanam to that person. Loads crores of milk will be spent on that person. You will do flower archana to that person. You will end up constructing a temple for that person. Hero worship has its own set of drawbacks. This is also a mental state that needs to be corrected amongst youngsters. Attachment to cinema, attachment to politics is fine. But that attachment shouldn't become over. Because I'm sure when movies release here, the first day, first show is the rage. Why? Cinema is just a part of your life. You are just a part of that actor's journey. So mental wellness is to be profoundly discussed amongst youngsters across schools. Because it is the same youngsters, when they fail in a certain exam, they'll go commit suicide. I'm not saying committing suicide is opposite to Sanatana Dharma, because Sita wanted to commit suicide in Sundarakandam. Like Rapunzel, she had a long braid of hair. She wanted to tie herself from the branch of a tree. Hanuman wanted to commit suicide at the beginning of Sundarakandam. Yes. But they knew how to stabilize themselves. So be it youngsters, be it men of the corporate world, mental wellness is something that should be discussed across schools and corporates. Just not hitting the gym. Most corporates have a gym in the office. Gym will only give you a body strength. But what about mental? When your mental state is weak, trust me, your body also gets weak. Finally, I promised Levista about something on coffee. We are all used to this shlokam, Shukla Baradharam Vishnum Shashivaranam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayed Sarva Vighna Upashantaye. For any puja that you do at home, your priest will begin with this. This is how he'll start. To any character who comes as a priest in the serials or the cinema, this is the only shloka that they will teach. They won't go even beyond this. This is the A to Z of their knowledge in Sanatana Dharma. So, how does this, or what does this have to do with coffee? Because early in the morning, people have this, wherever the mental wellness is, their attachment to coffee is at the peak. My wife will find a weapon if she doesn't get coffee in the morning. So, what is the Shukla Ambaradharam? Shukla Ambaradharam Vishnu. Shukla, white. So, you have to take boiling milk, white. Shukla Ambaradharam Vishnu. White is milk. Shashi Varanam, it looks like the moon. So, then you brew your coffee. I remember my grandfather who had retired from State Bank of India. He was commanded to do coffee by my grandmother every morning. So there used to be a double layer to the coffee filter, right? So he would put that coffee, little sugar so that you get your decoction thick, and then he would pour piping hot water onto it, and then the decoction will come to the bottom. So then he would take milk and mix it, and then give it to my grandmother. So Chaturbhujam, he has got two hands. She has two hands. So 2 plus 2, 4. So white milk turned into coffee is given by my grandfather to my grandmother. Chaturbhujam. Prasanna Vadanam. After that she becomes very happy. Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayed Sarva Vighna Upashantaye. All the obstacles for the day will go away. So Levista coffee makes the day for many. Followed by Anil Seve, there are many beautiful brands. Of course, with the energy, you could always play football so well. And all that you have to do is to exceed. And when I say exceed and excel, there comes Sandhya. Pratha Sandhya. So, mental wellness is not to be ignored. This is my final message. Please do not ridicule. If there are movies of the current days, especially in the television industry, which ridicule people of mental state, Vaidhyamani, Mansa, Kidpaka, such a brutal way to attack any person of mental illness. Probably the only way that we can restore civility in our debates is when we give peace of mind to people. And corporates and schools and universities across the city, across the state, across the country should take up mental wellness on a very serious note and ensure that people are with a seasoned and a cultured mind. When you have that, you won't have people breaking traffic rules. You won't have people going against the laid rules and regulations when mental wellness becomes a part of our curriculum. With this, I would like to conclude my speech. I would now like to call upon Shankar to shoot questions at me with no expectation that I will give the right answer. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much, Dushit. Thought-provoking. I just have 2 questions on behalf of the audience. We've debated on this. I'm just taking 2 instances, one from Ramayana and second one from Mahabharata. So most of the times what happens is, don't get me wrong, it's very easy to actually preach. And so what happens is when you're in a different frame of mind, there are different instances we go through. So the first one, what I would like to ask you, during Ramayana, Ravana was thrashed left, right and center. And constantly, and we all understand he made mistakes. And all this, the entire incident used to happen in front of his son, or his son was called, or the humiliation what the entire family went through. I'm talking about Indrajit and Ravana and all that. But yet they were putting a very strong face. They couldn't fight Rama. It is wrong. What he did was absolutely wrong. What I would like to understand from you is, what would have been their mental state at that point in time? Were they doing it wantedly? And at some point in time, they would have gone and fallen at Rama's feet and said, listen, I've committed a crime. So if you could just take us through that state of mind. They are in a different level. So how would they handle that? And why didn't that truth and sense prevail in them at that point in time?
As per the versions that we have of the Ramayana, be it Valmiki's Ramayana in Sanskritam, we have one of the oldest Ramayanams presented in the Tamil language by Kamban. And we have many references in Purananuru and Sangha Padalgal about Ramayana. Yes, Ravana was a very powerful king. He was a very good administrator. He was a devout person, filled with talents. He could play the veena, everything. But he had a very loose character. And this was not just with respect to Sita. Ramayana clearly states that he misbehaved with women in the past. Like Tilottama, like Punjikasthala, like Rambha. So there are many instances of Vedavati and so on. So to your question as to what humiliation his family had to face, Mandodari, who was the principal wife of Ravana, she had advised him on many instances to give back Sita because it was very unethical, very reproachable, very regressive, very humiliating to go abduct the wife of some other person and come. And imagine the leader of the country does that. So Mandodari did advise. Indrajit, incidentally, Ravana's son Indrajit was very, very powerful and a very nice person. He was a man of good character. But all of them had to support their father because they felt that they were duty bound to help their father. But one person who came out of that party was Vibhishana. He said it's not about humiliation humiliation, it's about virtues and values. I tried advising you to give back the wife of some other person, which is normal, natural and right. But you didn't follow, so I'm out of the family. So rather than calling it humiliation, I would call it as cowardice by the family members, because when they continue supporting a person who is blatantly doing a crime, you are not helping that family member. You are actually showing your cowardice by not showing the mirror to him, which Vibhishana did. So, to cut it short, the mental state of course would have been very tough, because we have 3 places in Lanka: Dunuvila, Yahangila and Verangan Tota. These are the 3 places in Sri Lanka. In Sinhalese it means the place where the body was kept, the place from which the arrow was shot. Dunuvila. Dunuvila means place from which the arrow was shot. Yahangala and Verangan Tota. These are the places which are associated with Ramayana near Kandi, which is Kandy today. So humiliation is natural for them, because they ended up supporting a person who was doing a very, very reproachable crime by abducting somebody else's wife, which is the nastiest of all the crimes. So they deserve it.
Great. And my second thing is the shift when there's an instant, I think on day 12 or day 13 of Mahabharata, when Abhimanyu gets killed. So at that point in time, this message is not communicated to Arjuna, and they wait for Arjuna to come and all that. But immediately after he comes from wherever he is, there is a thing that Krishna tells him something, tells him that, yeah, your son is killed and all that is there, but there is something big we have to do. There is a war ahead of us. Okay, while, yes, you can take revenge. The revenge you should take before sunset, whatever is there. And somehow Arjuna is convinced he doesn't even have time to grieve over Abhimanyu's death. So what would have been the conversations between these 2 characters, and then and also Draupadi playing a very important role? And is it fair? We are nobody to question Krishna and saying, is it fair that he's not even given a chance to grieve? I might be wrong, or what would have been, what would have happened, or if one was to imagine that?
We shouldn't be seeing Abhimanyu's death in silos. Besides Abhimanyu, there were many, many people who were dead on the battlefield. Duryodhana also lost his son. Karna loses his son. So, it does happen throughout Mahabharata. So, Abhimanyu is no special person that, of course, in our movies he becomes a very important person, but he is no special person. He is not the only person dead on the battlefield. And this battlefield of Mahabharata was a decided one. For example, when an army person decides to go to Kargil to fight, it is expected that some will die. So, it was a decided destination that people are going to fight it out and see which side wins. So, Abhimanyu's death was a part of the war. It was unlike many instances that I have cited here, Kovalan's death, or those were not wars. That was an individual incident. But here, Abhimanyu dies. So, Krishna's duty was to bring the war to a finish. If Arjuna starts grieving, Puduva, நம்ம வீடுகளில் யாராவது இறந்து போனா நம்ம வந்து ஒரு 10 நாள் 12 நாள் 13 நாள் காரியம் எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருப்போம். All that may not be possible on the battlefield, because everyone keeps dying. If you start observing that oath of 13 days, you will have to keep continuing for years. So Krishna's duty was to remind Arjuna that this is a part of his life. So he had to continue. So we should see the difference between a normal state and a war scenario. In a war, it is important for everybody to encourage the other person to continue fighting, to bring the war to a close. It should not be celebrating this 1-year anniversary like what Russia and Ukraine are celebrating. War should come to a close. One wins, one loses. That's all. Who wins, who loses is not our problem. But it should come to a close. So Krishna wanted, major aim was to bring this war to a close. He cannot let everybody lament over the other person's death. So, I am like what you said, Shankar, we are nobody to comment because it's a historical incident. But I am at show, in my humble opinion, I sincerely feel what Krishna did was the right thing to bring the war to a close rather than telling Arjuna, vent out your anger, now take 2 days off, go to a retreat, get your panchakarma done and then come back. No, that's not the way a strategist works.
Great. Does anybody have questions?
They've heard me enough, bro. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
May we please invite Mrs. Chitra from Benchmark Events to join us and felicitate Mr. Dushyant. Please, ma'am. So I think everybody from the audience side will accept that we are astonished by the way you took us through the journey of mental wellness. And yes, definitely it was a thought-provoking session, sir. Thank you. We are amazed by your key points and will definitely take it through the lifetime. So now let's hear from Mr. Dushyant. Ladies and gentlemen, how was the session? Thank you so much, sir. And now, moving ahead to the leadership panel discussion 2, let's have our moderator of the session. So this gentleman is high on energy. He includes people leader with proven success in marketing service and business development. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please invite our moderator, Mr. Vishal Chinchankar, CEO, Madison Digital, Madison Alpha, to join us. May we now invite our panelists. So this gentleman who always believes in smart work and has a great passion towards the job he does. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please invite Mr. Muthoor Basha, COO, International Limited, Nippo Batteries. And I take privilege in inviting our next panelist, who is a CEO of Aspire Impact, Mr. Aravind Sridhar, to join us on stage. So this gentleman is the Director of Impact Assessments and Startup Support. May we also invite Mr. Peter, CEO, Brand Active Singapore Private Limited, to join us as a panel member. Please, sir. So looking forward for a great panel discussion. Over to the dignitaries.
Thanks for that lovely introduction, high on energy. And I'm absolutely high on energy now after the previous session of Mr. Dushyant. I think that was very, very engaging and really putting us high. Let me just quickly introduce myself. I am Vishal Chinchankar. I am the CEO for Madison. Been into advertising for more than about 2.5 decades of experience. And we'll just quickly move on to our lovely panelists today. We've got Mr. Basha, CEO Nippon Batteries. We've got Arvind from Aspire Impact as a CEO, and Peter, who's going to talk a lot more about technology services. I'm going to keep this session in a way that I just have one person at a time complete the questions and then move on to it. So first of all, Madurai, thank you very much for getting us here, and to the rich culture, heritage, and the kind of entrepreneurs that have been born from this place is pretty commendable. So on that thing, Mr. Mash, I'm going to move to you. You've been working with Unilever, you've worked with Del Monte, Now you've worked with multinationals as well as homegrown brands in India. You come with a vast experience, a very rich experience of multinationals. Plus, this journey has been pretty exciting for you as well all this while. Your pedigree has been fantastic. It is something that people will look up to. I want to ask you a couple of questions. In this journey of whatever 30 years or more that you've spent, I'm sure you would have seized a lot of opportunities. How were you able to really tackle look at these opportunities and bring them into action? And what was your growth story in that area?
Thanks. Vanakkam and good afternoon, everyone. Just to add a little bit about me, I am a sort of Manding Maindan. I am from Chennai, born and brought up, but I never lived in Chennai after my college. Vishal, it's an exciting and fascinating journey for me. You, a young grad, you join as a trainee in one of the most admired company. I mean, fortunate to join Hindustan Levers those days in India. And it's all about you. You have a graduation, you have some competency, and they take over us. So Unilever take over us, and the entire grooming happens in the marketplace if you are in a marketing stream. It's all about knowing your people. I think it's people, consumers, and the journey starts with who are your consumers and what's your purpose. I think I'm very, very thankful and grateful. The so-called regimented way of what I learned in my life, knowing consumers. Okay, it's almost now 35 years of my experience, 22 years at Unilever. So what Unilever taught me especially, is to understand people. India is not only that one unit we call as Bharat or India. India is the only place every 250 kilometers taste of tea changes. I think one of our panel member was talking about coffee. I'm sure you would have heard about Brew Band and various brands in tea. Every 300 kilometers a language or dialect changes. So what I've been told or taught or learned is just how to understand consumers. Who are these people? They're completely different. Despite being in Unilever, multinational stuff, so what those companies teach us is to how can you be very relevant with the consumers. Okay? I'm sure many people, many of us in this room will be consumers or Unilever brands. The one thing which they always talk about is the motto, vision. Every company has got vision. Very simple, straightforward. I think that's vision is power. Our motto is across the globe to earn love and respect of every Indian. I think that's one thing it means. Whatever you do, you should learn, earn and love and respect of through our products, through our services. So that's the way the entire process starts. You understand people better. In the process, you travel across country. 21 years in US, I did 11 roles, 7 locations across India. I think. So when this happens, the stories are different. Many stories. The opportunity stories are different. What you are supposed to deliver is different. I'm very happy. On and above the so-called 30 years, I learned a lot in a market. I'm very lucky. Still, for me, the most challenging is marketing warfare. Many of you guys will have heard about Nirma and Surf war. It started in late 80s. It took off a shape. Then we had a response on wheel. Then in 90s, there's an Ariel versus Surf. There's another marketing warfare. Then you move to slightly high-end Olay and Palms. So what it does is it talks about how good you are currently and what you can do. So that's a differentiator whether you work for a large multinational or you work for a homegrown company or you work for a promoter-driven company. What is your strength? How quickly you can leverage. How can you look at opportunity and start putting a model which is people should believe. Both your stakeholders should believe and also the people who are going to execute for you should believe. So this is so-called common threads. whether you do a large company, like example, from nowhere, some regional brand can give a fight to you. I'm sure. We have, in levers, we had huge market shares in fabric was still we had. Ghadi came an entity and in North it took over entire, large chunk of market share. So how you respond to that? Without diluting your values and without diluting your consumer offerings, how can you fight and take on those things? So these are the few things which always are standard, always relevant. Consumer changes. Yesterday I was in the market, some 40 kilometers away from Madurai, somewhere in Tirumangalam away. So I just go to market, you see the people there, see what people consume or what you do. Many things are not changed. The habits are not changed. What changed is their knowledge of products, and they know pretty well what is good for them. So any company, any person who is doing a business or very consumer related type of products, it's critical for us to understand, are we relevant for them? So I just moved into Nippo 6-7 months back. Very pedigree brand, it's a 50-year-old brand, strong number 2 player. Are we leveraging that brand strength? That's the only question I keep asking my team, and I tell, we can do far better. That's the way how life moves on.
Nice, very well said and very well encapsulated in just one way. Going through this journey and the wars between Nirma and Surf and all these brands that you've handled in the past, I'm sure it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. We all have gone through it. But it requires a certain particular mindset. And again, going back to the mentally in this part, I'm sure there must be ups, there must be downs, there must be huge targets. There will be some failures, there will be some success. But you still go with a particular mindset in the market of achieving a certain thing. What runs into your mind when you have to, sort of go behind whatever objectives or goals that you get for yourself?
So great question, Vishal. Any business, what I learned, I understood, I strongly believe we should have growth mindset. Growth is not percentage numbers. Growth mindset. I think if someone has got that in his mind, believe me, in my experience, whichever level you are there, whether you are a CEO or a CEO, even a salesperson, So yesterday I was working with one of our sales officers. So I was asking him, what is this month's target? He said, sir, 40 lakhs. So what do you think your potential you can do? Because we know we operate in categories, we know our relative market share, what are the things. That guy was amazing. He said, I can do a crore. That's important. Once if it comes, lot of other stuff, whether you want to build a strong strategy, whether you want to execute the strategy, things happens. Important is growth mindset. Having said that, it's very theoretical to speak and tell this all cliche to tell growth mindsets and other stuff, but we need relevant competency to deliver those things. I think that's very important at every level. Yes, I have growth mindset. How are you going to deliver those things? My experience shows a lot of this business being done by people. I think I've seen some fascinating stories how individually they contributed to their professional goals as well as personal goals. 3 important competencies. Once if you have good mindset, for us, completely growth mindset. India is a large country, it's a growing economy, youngest country, a lot of statements. So how are you going to achieve that? First, you should have growth mindset, I think. I am a firm believer, nothing is more challenging than growth. 3 important competencies which everyone should possess, right from a sales representative who works in the market, or a guy who is going to do strategy or going to execute the strategy, is clarity. Amazing clarity. The people who are very successful, they have brilliant clarity in mind, and especially clarity what they're going to do and the purpose also. Second thing which I have done, I think it's in bits and pieces. Sometimes you go to external, what we call how much objective you are there. If there's a growth opportunity, can you crack everything? So what is your best way of doing things? Ease of doing. A lot of so-called jargons will come. In simple words, we should have good objective way of looking things and ensure that we have collective wisdom to deliver them. We don't need to get an external consultant to talk about what we are going to do as a company, as a category. Every company, whether it's a startup also, there's new people will join and they do. There's a collective wisdom. I think the successful stuff which thinks most, one is the mindset you ask about. I am firm believer of growth mindset. Then you have right competency. The first is clarity, what I'm going to do. Do you have some number or whatever your wisdom you have? Third, very, very important, is true for every consumer company. I heard some great stories of Anil Semia, and I think we grew up eating those things. It's about how you're going to deliver with people. I think that's called leadership for me. Leadership is not hierarchy. So sir was telling that he got 10 people, then he got the sales and distribution improved. He has seen results. That's leadership. To sum up, mindset, growth mindset, nothing second, third or thing. Have the right type of competencies to achieve those goals. Clarity. I mean, I have seen, thanks to, again, I keep talking about, people ask, what are your strengths? I come from an army background. My father was in army, and 22 years of their formative years, you were with levers, Unilever. So I had an opportunity to work with one of the best minds and great human beings. One thing which I saw in all of them is amazing clarity. Clarity on what I'm going to do this month, this quarter, next year. If you are going slightly in above level, everyone has got clarity for next 3 years. Second one is everything is slightly based on data, not on making statements. I have a data, I know what I can do. Third is excellent leadership. I think this is a combination very critical for moving ahead.
Very well said, and really appreciate the way you've sort of described the kind of clarity and achievements you need to get there. But at the end of the day, I believe that any business that you are into, it's all about people, right? Without humans, products are nothing, because it's all about the humans who will make that stuff. And the large difficulty, at least I run a company and I have about some 500 people working for me. Managing people is one of the mammoth tasks. Getting the right people is another different task on the right job. Training the people to get to deliver what they need to deliver. And on top of that, managing the churn, right? And these are some of the challenges that we all been going through. Tell me, in your journey, what are the kind of skills that you look in people when you hire? How do you manage the churn? How do you really manage the people to get the business going to the level of wherever that it goes to?
As I told about any good, successful, or maybe a so-called template for a great organization, you should have a business model which people should believe. Your external stakeholders and your own people. Mine is very, very mixed. 21 years I worked with a global organization. I'm sure many of you know how we hire talent. We go to the best preschools. So we get a slot on day one. We hire the best people there, and we have some yardstick how to get people, whether S&M, sales and marketing, separate people, whether it's a finance. That's a slightly different. You get them, and that is only entry. And we make them to understand, our product, the way we do business far better. So that's one side of the story for large organizations. They continue to do that. I think there's a merit in that. What I learned in last 10 years working with companies, homegrown companies, critical thing for is to, at entry level, if I'm hiring, I look at fitment. The fitment to sell a market leader brand, or maybe do a marketing work which has got the great creative partners or some global support you have, and doing marketing within India relevant to some states or some regions, we need different type of profile. So we look at people, basically the fitment. Every company has got its own ecosystem, their relative strength. Second, what you do with the people who are there. I think I talk about growth mindset. People are there for 20, 25 years. They've seen some, pace on growth and other stuff. That will be tougher stuff. toughest thing, to bring them at some level and say, you also think you're going to play an important role to go next level. The first part, when I'm hiring people in different type of ecosystem, we have to see fitment. We need not to worry about what is his pedigree, what he has done, whether this company, this is the journey we're going to have, whether it's going to fit. So if I have to tell a very layman, very simple sales analogy, which I'm very close to for over the period, for Unilever area manager, okay, so he handles Madurai or the South Tamil Nadu, he handles maybe 1,000 crores, okay, per annum, that's the size of the business. When I have an area manager for Unilever, large companies, I will be looking at whether he can see growth, how he is going to develop infrastructure for next 3 years, how he is going to do some category, gains. But a company like my size, my first criteria for an area manager is to see whether can he appoint right type of distributors. Because I am in expansion mode, I don't have that kind of turnovers. I need a guy who has got expert in appointing distributors. So that's a fitment. And ensure that people at every level, they come in that common denominator on every item which you are talking about, whether you want to use as a KPI is one of the word, or maybe making things simple for them. It is the way we have to keep focusing. Two important thing, if you are not in that part of the big blue chips and that 10,000, 40,000 crore company, in other companies it's critical to have a fitment, right type of profile people, and the in-house people, we should bring them slightly up and see that there's a picture in front of you. So I'll give my, this is 6 months in this company. We are a listed company, we can check our results on SEBI or on our portal. We are a strong number 2 company in batteries. We have gone into adjacencies. As a Nipo is a strong brand, very pedigree, high recall. There are only 3 players in batteries. We are not 400 crore company. Hopefully we are crossing 400 crore this year about our core business, our consumer business. But the factor is, space to grow is the one opportunity we have to keep telling. How to get the fitment as well as how to ensure that our in-house people are going to come into that level. We operate in batteries. Okay, so that's almost, and many of us, we know battery markets are almost either static as growing very marginally. And we are 26% share. So there's a growth opportunity, but still people don't believe that we can grow. It's not easy because we're not growing. Second, we are moved into adjacencies. The moment you move into new businesses, the space to grow is huge. So we have to keep painting picture. If you are operating in a 2,000 crore category, we are 26%, so okay, fine, it takes time. But we are entering into an agent space. The market size is 10,000 crores. Can we become 5%? So that these things always, I have seen in my experience people do. We'll be crossing 400 crores this year. The new business is going to give us 100 crores in that. So what is the significance of 100 crores? As said, Nipo, when we started 50 years back, incidentally, this is our golden jubilee year, we took 18 years to do our first 100 crores. The second 100 crores in one new segment, we are taking 3.5 years. That is going to ensure people will believe in what we are doing and get into that profile of people, whatever people have to work. It talks about fitment, it talks about how we are going to make them at a common, some denominator we have to bring in. So, that's
fantastic. I'm going to come back to you, but at the end of the sessions. But thanks for those lovely insights that you gave about your journey. I'm going to move to you, Peter. So for those who don't know, Peter is the CEO of Brand Active. He's an entrepreneur. He's built a lot of products for himself. Earlier in London, now he's moved into Singapore. Unfortunately, he got locked down for 2 years. He couldn't go back to London, right? 3 years, okay. But I want you to just talk about what is it that you're building. Okay, I must give you a background. He comes from a digital background. He's built a lot of products in his past. He's built recently something which has got to do more with all voice and AI and again linked to media, a bit of media. And before we move on to questions, I want you to give just a bit of a peekaboo about what is the product that you are trying to build and what are you trying to solve for?
Thank you, Vijay. So, we all know what's happening in the world of TV. I don't need to tell you that there's been a technological revolution, there's innovation happening seemingly every week. So I moved out to Singapore so I could go to the Asian market rather than the European market, which is very fragmented. I'm sure you'll watch the news. The UK is plummeting at the moment, and in contrast, India is going like that. I heard somebody say it's India's century. Come in? Absolutely right. I feel it here. The vibrancy in this place is absolutely amazing. And of course, there are, correct me if I'm wrong, 800 million people watch TV in India. There's about 20 million in the UK, by contrast. But linear television is difficult to measure. It's difficult to know whether anybody's watching it. We all heard about the measurement issues that were going on. So I got stuck in Singapore, having moved out there, just about to launch all sorts of products, and COVID hit. The shops closed, the cinemas closed, advertising fell off a cliff on TV, so I kind of hibernated a little bit. But I wasn't idle, so I created some new approaches and put patent applications in, so I now have patents around the world on a completely new technology that creates a digital response platform from linear television, radio and print. Now that kind of sounds a bit some kind of dichotomy there, using all those words in one sentence. But what it means is you can sit and watch live television, and providing you have one of these, you'll be able to buy what you are seeing on television at that precise moment in time, or vote, or comment, or discuss. So it's turning the analog broadcast, and analog such as print, into something that you can have a digital discussion with on your phone. So you get the best of all the digital world, with the measurement, with the response mechanisms, the metadata that you get. We can now, for the first time, and we will be the only ones to do it because we now have patents, and we've sat on our hands until the patents were granted, because the moment you put something in public domain, you can no longer claim your patent. So this is the first time I've talked about this in public. And I'd like to thank Shankar and his team, because we partnered with them, and instantly they saw what the potential was and put me up on the stage here. So thank you for that. And I sincerely hope it's not going to be the last time you hear from me. So let me try and quickly describe how this might work, and for you as a viewer of television, as well as an agency and an advertiser. So ultimately, if we take a TV brand, and forgive me if I can use News First. So imagine you're watching that TV, and there are several scenarios here. One that could be an interesting news item that you want to know more about, or there's an ad block, or there's an announcer message, or anything that can be made responsive. I can literally just, either on an iPhone or an Android, or I can just say, hey Google, open News First. And whatever is happening on the broadcast at that moment in time, it can be programmed to give a digital response to me personally, personalised to me, contextualised to me on my phone. So if, from an advertising perspective, this is groundbreaking. It captures first-party data every time anybody interacts. We have a unique device ID for each mobile handset. It's completely private. It's GDPR compliant. All the data is on AWS in Mumbai. It doesn't go out of India. And it builds a profile over time, so that not only can you respond to an ad on TV, the TV ad could say it's shampoo or something like that. It could invite you to go to your kitchen cupboard and now take a snap of a competitor's bottle of shampoo to get a coupon on your phone for an online purchase or in the larger stores. It means that when there's a party political advert or broadcast going out, you'll be able to quiz your local candidate on your phone. It means that the capture of all of that information and providing, and let's face it, TV is the best trusted source there is, then it means that you can interact, you can give your opinions. If it's a phone-in show, instead of just having 6 phone-ins, you could get a response from 2 million people live in real time. So you can change the course of the program live and in real time. It means that you can follow that up. If there's a newspaper ad, you'll be able to take a shot of it. If there's a poster, if there's digital out of home, the physical packaged product can all be linked together for a single person to get individual offers on their own devices. It works on PCs, Macs, phones. You don't necessarily need an app. Now, you can't do voice activation without a native app, but you can tap a button on your phone from just having a link that you get from a Facebook post or whatever else that's unique to that brand. So it's completely inclusive. That works on a Qyou 1 phone, and there's, I think, 56 million of these in India. So there's no app required, no download, no update. Still the same metadata is captured. We can also, if we think about CSR programs from some of the big brands, we can put that out on radio, get it out into the villages. You could even use a dumb phone and do a missed call. We can capture that information, and the radio show can alter what is being said. You can almost diagnose people's problems by giving 3 questions. Have you got a fever? Have you got a stomachache? Whatever. So I'm getting too excited now because it knows no bounds. It's as big as your imagination. If I'm right, if this works, this could become one of the biggest changes in advertising, not just TV.
Hello. Yeah, thanks, Peter. That was a lovely introduction of your product. Let's come back to your leadership points. This is very innovative, linking a traditional media, a linear TV or a print back into a mobile, and that to getting a voice activation into it, right? It could solve a lot of problems coming in for future. What made you get to this sort of innovation, or what was the thinking behind the different things that you wanted to bring? I'm sure there are a lot of products in the market, probably just trying to solve linear versus digital, or using voice on digital and making some good products, but you're trying to link too many things in one solve. What was going in your mind of why were you thinking so differently of making it that innovative?
Interesting question. I think some of it actually came from COVID. So I created quite a few things in the past, and I started this journey. I'm from the graphics world originally, and I just looked at QR codes and thought, there's got to be a better way. They're horrible little critters. A 10-year-old can scam a QR code in about 20 seconds. I think be very careful of them. I can go to an internet cafe, create my own QR code, print it out on a black and white printer, totally anonymously, and stick it on top of somebody else's real QR code and scam them. And that happened in Japan, by the way, the bicycle rental. They put a QR code on the mud guard, and some enterprising thief went and put his own QR code on, and they got scammed for $13 million. So I just thought there's got to be a better way. This was back when Microsoft launched something called Tag. I think this was last century, actually. So it kind of started evolving from there. So I created an image recognition system and got that patented. That patent was embedding videos behind photos. So you can have a photo on the mantelpiece, and families can embed videos, and you can just tap with your phone and go there. So then I started working on TV. Originally, I would take an image recognition, so I'd just take a photo of what was on TV, then recognize every single frame, and take that to error, and I thought, that's too cumbersome. And then during COVID, I was stuck in Singapore, couldn't get home, and had lots of time to think. So I started experimenting, researching, and that was essentially what came up with this idea, because in Asia in particular, there's a lot of free-to-air linear TV. In the UK and the US, it's a lot of set-top box. Incidentally, I also have the patent on linking to set-top boxes, where you as an individual create a playlist of one, so whatever you are watching, you could have fast-forwarded, rewound, whatever, and I can still pinpoint what you're watching and send a unique offer to you, personalised and contextualised. But there's 668 million people in the ASEAN countries, there's 1.3 billion here, there's 124 million in Japan. The volume game and the growth game is out here in Asia. So what I came up with is based on watching live sport, but also GEC shows. So if we think of IPL, they reckon they're going to get 500 million viewers this year. I mean, that's 1.5 times, twice the adult population of America watching one game. And the sponsors pay an arm and a leg to get their logo shown. I thought there's got to be a better way. We can do better than that. Let's give those advertisers, those brands, a better deal. And that we can now do by linking up and helping those sponsors take the viewers on a digital journey and availing of amazing offers. Our tech is already scaled up. So let's say if we were on IPL and there's 500 million people watching and there's a call to action on TV, well, my tech is such that using our Lambda system, I can scale it up instantly because we're just basically an I/O function, moving people from A to B, so we can have millions of concurrent hits. So we're an unusual startup. We've scaled for half the world already before we've even launched. But that has to be for TV because you're going to get those instant responses. So there we are. So whether you're a broadcaster, an agency, an advertiser, or even a charity, or anybody who does anything on TV or radio, then there is a potential huge return on investment. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Peter. In this whole journey of whatever that you started to an entrepreneurial level and now building one of the finest products, what would you give credit to for your success?
So my co-founder is a 36-year-old woman who knows more about digital than I will ever know. So teamwork between the two of us has been fundamental, and complementary skill sets.
Nice. Thanks, Peter. I'm going to come back to you. I'll move on to you, Arvind. Let me just do a quick introduction of Arvind Sridharan first. Like we've seen, we've got Mr. Basha from the traditional sales marketing field. We've got Peter coming in from a very different advanced AI, ML, digital advanced product. We have Arvind. Now, the fact is there are major regulators in India like SEBI, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and now they have made it mandatory for listed companies to disclose their ESG, which stands for Environment, Social and Governance Performance. Arvind has co-created India's first impact assessment, rating and certification methodology for corporation and non-profit organizations. We will look at the role of the media can play as channels and call out for the urgent need for media companies to embark on ESG. Must be a very, very new kind of a thing for many of us sitting over here. But I'd like Arvind to talk about what do you think is the role of ESG, again, environmental, social and governance, of media in the sustainability in today's world?
Sure. Thanks, Vishal. Namaskaram.
And before that, if you can just give this audience a brief of what does this really mean here?
Sure. Once again, namaskaram and good afternoon to everyone. I think we have the unenviable task of one following the first panel, Dushyant Sridhar, who's extremely articulate, and we're standing in between them and lunch. So I'll try to keep this brief. I can see a lot of hungry faces as well. Just to start off, show of hands, how many here have heard of the term ESG, sustainability, impact? Right, so there are thankfully some hands, and like Vishal said, I'll just give you a quick brief and a preamble in terms of what I'm really talking about. I'm not from the media, I'm here to provide a very different perspective, and while I may be a misfit, I'm hoping to plant some seeds that may focus on, enabling you to focus on ESG, impact and sustainability when we all leave the room. So to start off with, ESG stands for Environmental, Social and Governance. Like Vishal said, this is now a regulation, definitely in the West, but also in India. We have SEBI and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs who have now mandated that the top 1,000 listed companies in the country have to publish what is called a business responsibility and sustainability report every year going forward. How is this different from the reports that any company produces? This is not the annual report which has tons of financials. This is the non-financial performance that has to be disclosed and measured. Today, there doesn't exist many frameworks, there don't exist many frameworks and principles which are able to tell you, like in an accounting, like we have accounting standards and accounting frameworks, to tell you what your profit is or not. On the ESG side, sustainability side or the impact side, there exists no such methodology yet to provide you with empirical information of how a company is performing on the non-financial side. So at Aspire Impact, we've created a framework which is called a 4P framework, different from the 4P in marketing, which stands for product, people, planet and policy. So the planet, people and policy really is synonymous with ESG, which is environmental, social and governance. But the product aspect takes into consideration the product and the service that an organization actually does. So today, traditional ESG rating companies, like we have the CRISIL rating agencies, which give you a rating of a AAA or a BBB, etc. on your stocks, help you and me as laypersons to understand whether this is a company that is doing well, this is a stock that I can invest in. But today, the millennials and Gen Z, and of course, without regulators, nothing would be enforced on us, are all focused on you doing not just a profitable business, but also a business that is profitable with purpose. So now when your customers and stakeholders are seeking that information, what is the easiest way to show them whether you're doing well or not? Like we all have done through our schooling and college, marks is the best way to show whether you're good, bad or ugly. So we've come up with an empirical framework to say what is the score of a company today, to be able to enable investors and other stakeholders make a decision of understanding what really a company does beyond its financial performance. The challenge, however, is these frameworks are evolving. They are constantly changing. So such that there is no standard that you're able to follow. There are multiple global standards as well. We've created what we think is India's first framework and principles. ESG ratings traditionally do not focus on the product or the service of the organization. So to give you an example of a very large conglomerate in India, which is ITC, has very high ESG scores because they're surely strong on their processes in terms of their environmental processes, social processes, governance, etc. They're doing very well. But the one thing that we have ignored is the fact that 40% of their revenue comes from tobacco, while they're also an FMCG company. 40% of the revenue comes from what can be spoken about as a social evil. There are companies which sell alcohol, and while I'm not questioning the nature of the business there, from an impact-oriented organization perspective, these are not the organizations that will probably last the test of time, because while they're profitable, their purpose is very different. The panel that we saw in the morning, whether it was Anil Foods or Excel Entertainment or all the others, all of them spoke about one aspect, probably without realizing that a lot of them are impact enterprises. And what do I mean by that? So whether it was football, where you're empowering women to take up a sport such that they can represent India again on a sport that's barely talked about in the international level when it's coming to India. Empowering women is an impact enterprise. I think Sanjay spoke about the fact that there are so many constantly focusing on women, in terms of hiring, even in the other organizations. Wanting to bring about this inclusion and diversity in organizations is focused on impact. Anil Foods, like I think he mentioned, the product in itself is a healthier option and an alternative to what we've all been fed in terms of saying Kellogg's is the best breakfast. But traditionally what we've had in India is whether it's a dosa or an idli or a semia, is focusing on providing you with a healthier alternative to what you today otherwise have. 90% of the women I believe in this factory or organization are women, which is again focused on impact, bringing about gender diversity and rather in this case inclusion. Now, all of this that I have given as a preamble is to ensure that the media themselves has always been thought to be a responsible pillar of the country, the fourth estate as you will. But this definition of responsibility today has widened. It is not just in terms of content dissemination or the fact that it has to be done in a responsible manner, but it is also how you create the content in a sustainable fashion. So strategically, this has to now be embedded in how the organizations run to be able to provide sustainable processes within the organization to ensure that it's not a one-off or one flash in the pan kind of initiative like a lot of CSR today is focused on doing what they are because the bulk of it is mandated. If you have profits, 2% of them have to go towards CSR. So ultimately the responsibility lies with the organization to not just focus on profit but also on purpose and really need to focus on everything that we've taken from the environment needs to be given back in some form or fashion.
Thanks for clarifying what is ESG, because I think a lot of people need to really be educated about this thing. I'm going to move to my next question. How do you think individuals can make a significant contributions towards sustainability? And what are the steps that you as an organization is trying to take?
So I'll take that question in two parts. One is what can individuals do and what the media can do. So the media as a channel in itself is, like I spoke, is about disseminating information. So that creation of awareness is very important, and that's something that the media should take over. A lot of it is already being done, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. So whether it is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or whether it is Mission Swachhta and Pani, all of these are focuses that the country has pledged towards the sustainable development goals of the UN. So the whole of India, so when we say India will do this, what does India mean? India is confidence of all of us from India Inc. and the people who need to contribute towards this. So one is the media can collaborate with various other companies to be able to bring out what all these companies are doing towards benefiting social inclusion or improving environmental degradation that we have today. At the same time also focusing on strong governance practices. So that's one. The media's role is key in terms of spreading awareness and education. The second part is what can you and I do? Right? More and more, I think, and even as Dushan Sridhar spoke about the fact that sustainable practices in India especially have been happening since the Treta Yuga, the Dwapar Yuga, and it is part of our culture. Like with yoga or Ayurveda, which has probably gone to the West and then come back to us as if it's something new. Sustainable practices also are something that were always embedded in our culture, and that's something we need to go back to the root of to understand how we did. So whether it was building a step well to conserve water, or using how planting trees, etc. that were done. So one example that comes to my mind is there is a tree called the Khejri tree, which is the state tree of Rajasthan. Now this is a tree that grows towards the western border of the state and is capable of surviving harsh weather from 0 degrees to 50 degrees Celsius. This tree is, I think, very sacred to the Bishnoi community, which is very much in Rajasthan. And of what I understand and read, this is a tree that even Rama, before he went to fight the battle with Ravana, he performed a puja to this tree. Now, this tree provides, of course, it provides shade. It requires very little maintenance to grow. It provides, the bark of the tree has Ayurvedic purposes. The leaves can be converted to flour. I think it has been used as flour when there was a famine many centuries ago. So on and so forth, so much so that the Pandavas themselves hid their weapons before they went to exile under this tree. And probably they thought that this is clearly a tree that is so strong that it can manage harsh weather, so our weapons will be protected. The fact is, this tree is dying today. And now there is a focus, and in fact this tree was also instrumental in the start of the Chipko movement. The fact I was just trying to bring here is there is so much that exists in our culture that we need to understand what the benefits of those are. So today we focus on tree plantation drives, etc. We need to focus on the fact that our usage on the other side of air conditions and fossil fuels, etc., is constantly degrading this, and we are trying to commit a sin in one place and trying to make penance for it in another. So creating a large complex in Madurai will not be offset by the damage I'm doing here, will not be offset by me planting trees in Kanyakumari. So we need to be very conscious of what our personal behavior is, because this is ultimately about bringing about social and behavioral change. And there I think the media also needs to play a crucial role. And all of us, I'm sure a lot of us are conscious now that when we leave a room, we'll switch off the lights, we will not turn on a tap and ensure if it's leaking, we'll ensure it's fixed, etc. Those are all things we need to do, and we need to do much more. And we all need to be ambassadors of ensuring that we are constantly focusing not just on environmental improvement, but also on ensuring social justice. So that's probably what our role should be.
Thanks, Arvind. Lovely said. One personal question. You could have been a banker or in Unilever or created one company. What inspired you to do this?
So actually I was a banker. I have done various things. So I have worked with the Citibank. I have worked a little bit in the media and some business journalism. I think during COVID, this version of our organization started during COVID, and we are a work from home organization, and therefore no physical space. We're obviously using lesser, ensuring our carbon footprint is lesser, energy used is lesser, etc. The one thing that really struck me, and I'm sure it struck many of you, is during COVID when there was a lockdown, I noticed, and I used to live in Bombay then, is the skies in Bombay were blue. And I think for the longest time in my life, I probably thought the skies in Bombay are always grey. And I'm sure everybody realized that. I have been to the UK, to the US, etc. And the only time I ever said that it's a beautiful day is when I looked at the skies there and the environment there. So the AQI, let's say in most of those countries, is about 50, whereas in Delhi, even day before yesterday, it was 400. So this really, woke me up from inside. And I knew for a fact, cynically so, that once the lockdown eases and we come back to what was then called the new normal is actually the old normal, we're back to our usual normal. And we're continuing to live the way we are, we're continuing to pollute, we're sure we all do a little bit of garbage segregation, we all do a little bit of donations here and there, but we are really not living it. And the bulk of it is where the corporate sector needs to make a huge change in terms of how you are operating, and this is not for today. We have to look beyond our lifetime, we owe it to the next generation. And I think Dushyant mentioned in his speech, right, saying Draupadi matured over age, and age helps us mature, and we need controlled anger, etc. Unfortunately, we as a race haven't matured. We've actually made things worse, and we haven't left much for the next generation to really save it. So all that we gained, so it's our responsibility to not just save the planet, and that's just one aspect, but social justice is equally important, as is saving people. So all of these actually really kindled me to consider this. This helps me continue all the skills that I really got from my past jobs. Focus on doing something in the corporate sector while I'm in the social sector.
Very inspiring, and thank you for that answer. Okay, I'm going to just do one more round of questions for all of you, and it's a common question. All you guys have been through a great journey, distinctly different from media, all of you. And you've been one of the astute leaders in your respective field. What is that one piece of advice that you'd like to give it to the audience when it comes to the respective leadership quality, or one piece that you want to tell them? And I can make it tough by say it in one word. Or you can say it in a sentence. I won't make it tough.
So, I think it's important. Many of our businesses delivering through people. I think that's everywhere. The leaders or people who are doing. So one which I am very keen and very consistent on doing is taking accountability and ownership. I think that is non-negotiable for everyone. So we are in a business. Whether you make soaps or detergents or you make batteries, there are consumers there, and we have to, get our objectives done. At every level, two important qualities will be Are you owning it? Are you accountable for it? I think that is very, very consistent. I want to, not relevant to this question, I used a word in the previous thing about warfare, marketing warfare. I think it's the only warfare, I think you guys read, Google it. Always, the winner is not the guys, whether Pepsi and Coke, the winner was always the consumer. Okay, so you fight Ariel and Surf Excel fought, I would say it's a very big warfare. Finally, consumers got the world-class products, both from the current company and the new company. I think in this evolution, people, the leaders have to only two things. They have to own, and they have to have a sense that I am accountable. So I hope I answered your question.
So if I sum it in one word, it's accountability. If I sum it in one word, it's accountability.
So just taking off from what Mr. Basha said, accountability, ownership, absolutely important. From my perspective, in terms of the work I do, accountability and ownership in bringing about the change. This change needs to start from us, and like Gandhi had said, the change you want to see needs to start from you. So whether it is about moving away from single-use plastic, throwing away our existing toothbrush to use a bamboo toothbrush, to ensuring that we switch off lights and we educate people, etc. If you are motivated enough to realize that we are mere custodians of what we have gotten, and we need to pass this on to another generation, and until that kindles inside you, you need that drive and motivation to realize to make this small change. And small change will have cascading effects globally. The one thing I always feel is what we all do in the quest of success comes largely from greed, and it could be good greed or bad greed. But I believe that greed is largely coming out of the fact that you think you need something, but you actually don't. So the sooner we realize that our greed is inconsequential and it is going beyond what we need, I think we will all start being a lot more judicious in the use of what we are extracting from nature, and it's something that we need to preserve. We are far behind where we need to be, but it is not something that needs to demotivate. It should not be thought as a challenge. It should be thought of as an opportunity. And the more you think of it as an opportunity, I think it's motivating enough for all of us to focus on what can be done rather than regret on what has been done.
So Vishal mentioned earlier that the most important quality in leadership is how to manage people. Your team is fundamental. Just to add to that, Steve Jobs made a very astute statement many years ago. He said, I don't employ people to say yes to me, I employ people to be better than me, to teach me. And that's something when you're doing innovation, you just absolutely have to have. If you have a team of people who are like you, you'll fail. I guarantee it. You've got to have people with opposing views and different knowledge, complementary knowledge. And if you can achieve that and motivate these people, you can move mountains.
Thank you, Peter. Well said. On that note, we're more than happy to take any questions for any of these gentlemen, if any. No questions? All right, thank you then. Lovely talking to all of you.
That was a wonderful panel discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen. May we please invite Mr. Sukumar Nagaraj, Executive Directors, Anil Foods, to join us and felicitate the moderator and the panelists for the discussion. Please, sir. Let's hear a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Let's freeze this moment. We request all 5 of you to join us for a group picture. Some smiles around. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. So I hope you had very nice insights about the panel discussion. So we are breaking up for lunch now. See you exactly in 30 minutes for the next discussion. Thank you.
Yeah.